It was 1984 and I was 9 years old, and my parents were sending me and my older sister to overnight camp for 8 weeks. Now, 8 weeks may sound like a long time, but I wanted to go because camp was my happy place. We tie-dyed t-shirts in art and crafts. We made brownies and cooking. We had sing-alongs to Joni Mitchell songs, and I made friends easily, and we'd stay up late in our cabin talking and whispering with only our flashlights to see. Now, some of the kids really missed their parents and would read and reread the letters that they had been receiving. And the parents must have missed them because they sent them care packages filled with junk food. I was receiving quickly scribbled postcards from my parents, which read the three same lines every time. How's the weather? How's the food? How's your diet? Love, Mom and Dad. My parents put me on my first restrictive diet when I was 7. Now, I loved all the activities at camp, but I hated swimming because even though I was only 9, I was ashamed of my body. And it was torture to have to be in a bathing suit in front of all the other girls. Luckily for me, we didn't have activities with the boys, except for evening activities where we would have movie night or talent shows. My older sister, who was a young teenager at the time, she was very popular with the boys. She played Madonna in the camp talent show, and she received a standing ovation. I envied her. Now, but at camp, I was happy. I was free from my parents' scrutiny and criticism, and I could just be me. But then an announcement was made. This year, the camp swim meet was going to be co-ed. I was going to have to be in a bathing suit in front of the girls and the boys. My heart dropped to my stomach. I tried to get out of it. I told them I was sick and they took me to the infirmary, and my temperature was taken and the nurse diagnosed me as fit to participate. I thought about hiding underneath the bunk, but I was afraid of critters like snakes and other things. And I contemplated running away, but the camp was in the middle of nowhere, and I imagined a horror movie situation unfolding. It was the day of the meet, and my heart was pounding out of my chest. When we got to the pool, there they were, all the boys. I was so anxious waiting for my race to be called. I remembered back to the times where my parents put me on those diets, where my father paid me to lose weight. My mother packed me Slim Fast shakes for lunch, and they always reinforced that if I didn't lose weight, no man would ever love or marry me. My race is called, and I keep my towel wrapped around me like a security blanket, wanting to conceal my body. And I wait till the very last second with the towel around me till I shimmy it off and the whistle blows and the race is off. And I'm swimming, 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 and the water's stinging my eyes and filling up my nose and getting in my mouth, and I'm choking, but I forge ahead and I touch the wall. And I make the turn, and now I'm swimming back. I'm swimming, 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 and my chest feels like it's gonna explode in my lungs. And I think, oh my God, how humiliating if I don't make it back. And just when I thought I couldn't do another stroke, I felt the wall. I had made it back. Not only had I had won the race, and I had won it in record time. I broke like a 50-year-old camp record. And as I stood there, water glistening on my body, my braid swinging down my back in the wind, I heard the campers. Were they laughing? No, they were cheering. They were cheering for me. And I knew that it may not have been the end of my struggles with my body image, but in that moment, I was a champion. Ooh, ooh, I messed up, but that's okay. It's good. Bad rehearsal, good show.
I don't think you messed up. It was great.
Thank
You
you.
might know you messed up. I don't think we know you messed up. That's not how it works. So good, says Chandreyee. She doesn't say that for every story. I've known her for a little while.
Thank
She'll
you.
be nice about it, but not that nice. Hi, Linda. Linda, do you have a story this evening? All right. Linda's our 5th storyteller. Thank you very much. I actually did hear a version of that story yesterday. Quick promo for my friends, Steph and Corey. If you all are interested, I don't have any specific information, but I can share with you. They have a monthly get together that it's, what is it? It's kind of like an open mic / feedback hybrid. But they do a really nice job of giving feedback. So I heard that last night. Correct?
Is that Cocoon?
Yeah, Cocoon. Yeah. The Cocoon. Thank you very much for that story. And going first, so that's the story you're going to tell this evening as part of your show in Glendale.
Yes, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to be in person and feel, you learn so much different. You learn different things like laughter, especially. So, but I love being here. So thank you everyone for your time and ear.
It's nice. Should we experiment with keeping people? I want to keep people sometimes unmuted for the laughter, but there's such a risk of other issues happening that I'm like, you know what's going to happen tonight? I think you're going to do it and you're going to get laughter where you don't expect it. And you're like, ooh, I'm going to play in that space for just a little bit right now because ain't nothing like laughter.
That always happens to me. Like, I'm like, oh, this is my big joke. And like, no one laughs.
No one laughs.
And then
something else you say, and then they laugh, and you're like, that wasn't funny at all. What are you doing?
And then the next time you do the story, you're like, this is the funny part, and they don't laugh. I can't figure this out. I don't know what to do. I'm sure you'll do great. I hope the other storytellers, well, I'm sure they'll be great. Great is great. It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah, Kelly Spillman is doing the story, and you met Chris Corbell before.
Yeah, once.
And so Kelly always, she brings it home. She's great.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure it'll just be a really nice event.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you for going first. Hang around for a little bit if you can. We have got another storyteller. This is the first time I've met her. Here's what I know about her. Her name is Jenn. I think it might be short for a longer name. I could be wrong. This is what I know about her. I know she's got a nice smile. I know that she recently moved from Texas to Illinois. No, does she only live in states that end in S? I don't know. But right now, I think maybe. Right now, I think maybe can't come to North Carolina because of that. Thank you for being here, Ms. Jenn. I think I'm going to get your name wrong again. I apologize. Haston or Heston? Haston.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I'm going to stop talking now. And then when you're ready, you're going to start talking. Break a leg.
Too big, too tall, too fat. Picked last, picked over, picked on. Unattractive, unwanted, unloved. Fat. 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 I spent most of my life hearing the chorus of Fat Girl on playgrounds in Louisiana, both in private and public school. I was too big to be a popular girl. I was tall, but didn't play basketball. I was picked last for every sport. I tried out for the dance team, cheerleading, and flag team. None of them wanted me. I didn't really have a boyfriend until I was in high school, and we basically did our homework together. Super sexy stuff. I graduated high school somehow, despite the teasing and cruelty. I moved to Texas and started college, and the teasing stopped. which was a nice byproduct of adulthood. As a theater major, I did some plays. I got some parts, and my confidence started to build. I directed a few shows, and the confidence built even more. But I never really felt beautiful or sexy. I certainly felt attractive, mostly because my boyfriends would tell me constantly, "You're beautiful, sexy even." But I never really believed them. I tried my best to believe it, but the constant battles with my weight and that distant chorus of fat girl, kept holding me back from truly thinking I was beautiful. In late 2013, I had a 24-hour period where I thought I might have cancer. After some exploratory surgery, I was incredibly relieved that it was not cancer. And while it took an invasive surgery to uncover that, I was grateful my appendix was the only thing I lost. The surgery was instrumental in waking up some lifestyle change for myself and my partner. My husband and I talked about living a healthier lifestyle and doing what we could to lose weight. The paleo diet was all the rage at the time, so we jumped on that bandwagon. We did it for a while and we both lost a good amount of weight. Of course, you can't fight science. Men always lose weight faster than women do. And deciding I was going to beat him at this, I set a goal for myself to lose 75 pounds. And when I did, I would do a glamorous old Hollywood style pinup photo shoot, bathing beauty, Marilyn Monroe, that type of thing. I was avoiding chocolate and cheese and counting calories and looking at every single pound, and I hated every single minute of it. Eventually, I managed to lose 75 pounds. I was proud. I was excited. I was terrified. I remember a few weeks prior to the shoot, waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, plagued with doubts. Who am I to do this? I am not a model. I am not beautiful. I am not sexy. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea. What had I signed myself up for? So on the day of the shoot, I got dressed and I drove to the studio. The hair and makeup crew worked on me for what seemed like hours. Fearfully and slowly, I turned around and looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. I smiled. I even started to laugh. My God, I looked glamorous, stunning, and beautiful. That feeling would continue as the photographer clicked and told me to pose this way or that. Bend your arm back, turn your head this way. It was so much fun. I loved it. I loved seeing myself like that. And it was wonderful. It was after that photo shoot that I began to think of myself as beautiful, no matter what the scale says. It is something I tell myself every day since that shoot. I definitely have some role models I follow: Lizzo, Ashley Graham, Sonia Renee Taylor, and Hunter McGrady, to name but a few. I continue to find ways to self-love with their advice. A few years later, my 1-year-old daughter was starting to receive comments that she was fat or chubby, and people were saying things about her weight. With horror, I saw all too clearly where this was leading. Not on my watch. I realized it was vital for her to never hear me say a bad thing about my body or hers. It continued to be a rallying cry as I took part in a show celebrating body positivity and really examined the concept of what it meant to love yourself as you are. This does not preclude one from finding ways to eat healthy or even losing weight if you want to, but just for you, only if you want to. And after this show was over, I was done telling myself I was fat or ugly. I am beautiful and I am just the right size. And now I am doing everything I can daily to tell my daughter she is too. I am breaking that generational curse for her. It takes a lot of work to break those chains that bind from the past, and I'm working on it daily. I have a few mantras that I have used, and here's a few of them. I am just the right size. I am valued. I am loved. I am sexy. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I am just the right size. And you, my dear viewer, are too. Say it, believe it, own it.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you so much. Recently transplanted, joining us, telling that story. She's got a family. You're from Louisiana, so that disproves my theory about you needing to live in a state with an, yeah, that wasn't a very good theory to begin with. I know that, you're right.
It had possibilities.
You know, you try things on sometimes. You don't know where they're going to go. Really appreciate it. I'm glad that we connected. You found the event. You joined us. So thank you so much. Yeah. I have a weird question for you. It's not that weird, actually. How does it feel to tell that story on Zoom to what I believe are mostly strangers?
It is a little bit disconcerting.
Oh, yeah?
Because I don't know what everybody's thinking and feeling. I feel passionately enough about this message, though, that I wanted to start just putting myself on stage as much as possible to talk about it.
Is this something, this specific topic you spend a lot of time with? So this is a story, presumably among some others that you, for this work?
Yes, and I'm writing a book that has a lot to do with reframing things, and this is going to feature heavily in that book.
Cool.
So
nice. Book writing can be painful, so I hope it's not painful for you.
I'm a couple days in, so after 8 years of vacillating, I really started to get on it in the last couple of days because I was challenged by my speaking coach to get on it, and so I'm in the middle of a challenge right now. It's a 77-day challenge. I don't want to take up too much time with that, but it's been helpful.
Yeah, right. If I don't have a specific goal, it doesn't get done. Like not only a goal, an end date. And I know you can make end dates for yourself, but I don't. So guess what gets done? Everyone, nothing. Okay, let's move on. Great job. Thanks again, Jen. I hope you can stick around. I know you have a daughter and other things going on, but if you want to hang, that'd be cool. Next up is another lovely human being. By the way, so after the next storyteller who's lovely, a lovely human being, I'm going to wait to tell you who it is a little longer. She knows it. After this person will be Ben, and then Linda, and then Chandra, just so you know who's telling when. But that leaves just one person to choose our next storyteller. I don't know if she's writing a book. I know she's not in Illinois. Her name is Dotty. And Dotty, you want me to stop talking? I will.
You can keep going, Sean.
I'm done. It's your turn.
Okay.
Take a look. Hang on. I want to actually spotlight you. I didn't do this for the others. I think it helps a little bit. Boom. There we go.
I press the button on my computer that says, if you purchased a photo package, choose the date of your experience. I find April 30th, 2022. Now, I had never heard of paragliding until a few days before I decided to try it. At the beach in San Diego while visiting my daughter, I saw people up in the sky flying over the ocean in these bucket-type seats with a curved sail, cloth sail above them. And there was a guy kind of guiding it. I said, I love this about California. So fun. I want to try it. Let's go check it out. So we get to the paraglider port, and I walk up to the guy at the ticket desk. And I say to him, I need you to look at me. And I slowly turn around. And then I say, if I go up there paragliding, do I need any kind of athletic ability at all? I mean, look at me. And he says, no. He said, we've had people like 13 months old to 104 years old doing this. No problem. And I said, perfect. I want to try it. So he said, well, give me your phone number and we'll text you when the conditions are good. And it probably won't be until Friday. So when I leave, I Google paragliding. Is it scary? And it says no. People are like really surprised how relaxed they feel. And the worst thing it said was that you get motion sickness. So I stopped at CVS and bought some Dramamine. Now, I never thought I could talk myself into paragliding. I mean, I can do this, but I'm into doing telling stories now, and I think this will be a great story. I mean, I think this will be such a great story. This will be the story my kids tell after I'm dead. Like, remember the time Ma went paragliding? She was such a free spirit. It will be that story. So late Friday morning, my daughter leaves for an appointment. And I says, you gonna be back in case they call me, in case it's an okay? And she says, yeah, I'll be back, don't worry about it. And then at noontime, I get a text and it says, we are officially flying today. Get here by 4 o'clock. So I take a deep breath and I'm still can't believe that I don't have any fear in me still. So it's time to take the Dramamine. And then an hour later, my daughter's still not back and I am just so tired. So I decide to take a nap. It's probably from the Dramamine. And then when I wake up, I hear the door open to the house and I look and it's 3:30. Whoa, you made it back right in the nick of time, I say to my daughter. This is perfect. I'm really gonna do it. Like, look at me. I'm free, I'm retired, and now I'm gonna fly in the sky like a bird, just free. I mean, who gets to do this? Your mother does, Nicole. I do. Let's go. I gotta be there by 4. And I head out the door to her car. And then she doesn't come out. And I say, Nicole, we got to be there by 4. And she comes out on her porch and she says, I'm not taking you. And I said, what? She says, no, I don't think it's a good idea. It's too dangerous, especially at your age. At my age? Did she just say at your age? And I said, you heard the guy say they had people 13 months to 104 years old. I could be the 104-year-old person's daughter. I mean, that would make me a youngster. And she says, no, not on my clock. And she turned around and went in the house. And I stood there in the driveway stunned. And then I got a text and it said, hey, skydiver. And it was from my son in New York. So I called him. I said, what are you texting me this? He says, well, I just wanted to let you know that you're getting vetoed today, Mom. You're not going up. And I said, why? And he said, because you're not. And then my mind flashes back to when I was a teenager and I was grounded. I wanted to go to the dance and nobody would give me a ride. And like, when did these tables turn for me? No ride, no glide. What's this all about, vetoed? Well, she's concerned, he says, about me dying. Well, probably, but what if you break your hip? Break my hip? Did you say break my hip? Not fracture my skull or break my back or drown in the ocean, but break my hip? And he says, well, she said it, not me. And then I realized I had just got moved up to the elderly category. Oh, I get it. I get it. If I break my hip here in California, there is no putting me on a plane to Boston for a long, long time. Is that it? And he says, well, it would be a great inconvenience. And just like that, I went from a free spirit to a potential burden in need of elder care. And that's when I go on the website and I look where my paragliding photos would have been that day if I didn't get the wind taken out of my sails and get grounded.
All right, Dotty. I'm gonna remove your spotlight, but I want to talk to you for a second. It was so good. I think I heard a version of that story, but this is a new version. Love it. I haven't learned my Zoom etiquette. I'm looking at you right now. I'm looking at the green dot right now. I'm looking at you right now. See, that's better. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for listening.
Is that all you want to say?
Does anybody want to take care of me if I go out there on a sneak trip?
Oh, I wouldn't veto you. Would you? Would you? Joanne wouldn't veto you, I don't think. Would anybody here veto her? Nobody. Are we saying we're better than your children? No, we're not saying that explicitly, but
We're intimating it.
we're not saying it. That's for sure.
Wait, I'm going to be the black sheep and say I wouldn't veto Dottie because Dottie's awesome, but also because I'm not Dottie's kid. If this was my mom, though, I don't know. It's one of those things. that I really hope you get to do
Such
it.
a mom. What a mom talking right now.
A child of a mom. If my mom broke her hip and I have to take it. But Dottie, I will drive you to one of the beaches here so you can go do
Oh,
that
God.
Paris thing.
I
Thank you.
think you should do it. I really do.
And I looked into it in Vermont, but it's like you're just going over trees. I just like the idea of going over the cliff of the Pacific
Right.
Ocean.
Just to be clear, not parachuting, not jumping out of a plane.
No,
hang
it's,
gliding.
it's paragliding.
Right. And you would be strapped to a professional
Yeah.
or to
Right.
an instructor. So
You-
it wouldn't be
the
like
only
they're
way
handing
you're
you
gonna
the
get hurt-
glider and saying go.
Yeah, she called my
Chances
son and
are-
she said, Ma's out of control again. She wants to do this.
The only way, not the only way, but chances are if you get hurt, that person gets hurt too, that you're strapped to, and they don't want to get hurt. Give me your kid's number. No, actually, that's not why we're here. We're not trying to fix anybody. We're not offering solutions. They're not telling the story for that reason. So thank you for that, Dottie. I love it. Young lady. Okay. Thanks. Next up, I've not met this gentleman. And I am glad that he's here. I like his background. I'm not sure if I like Vikram's or Ben's more. It doesn't matter. It could be a tie. And Ben, I'm going to unmute you. Actually, I think you have to unmute yourself. And if it's okay, can I spotlight you too?
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome. And then whenever you're ready, we'd love to hear your story. Okay.
Okay. I just want to say I rehearse a lot. I have not rehearsed this, and I don't
No
know if
worries,
it's the
man.
best story to do this way or not, but I just felt it was important.
Great.
When the underground bookstore closed, actually, they didn't close. They were under new management, and I really wanted a job there. They started phasing out things that I felt were really important. A lot of the women's literature, a lot of the African-American literature. So I'd go in and I would ask them to get more stuff or hire me to be their buyer. I'd hang out with the new owner. We'd talk. He'd give me little knickknacks because they had little things at the side door. And this went on for about a year. And then I got a postcard in the mail saying they were filing for bankruptcy and this was going to be their last week. So I went rushing over there to say goodbye to my friend and maybe get some stuff on discount. And as soon as he saw me, he said, I have something for you. And he gave me a plastic rat. It was a rubber rat. He said, this came in the mail. And I thought this would be perfect for you. As soon as I thought of it, this was for you. And then he gave me a publication. And I started flipping through it. And he said, I just want to let you know that this is what I believe, but I don't support what they do. The back page had a P.O. box address where if you murdered someone who was a minority, they would send you $1. I had dealt with racists in the neighborhood that I'd grown up with. And I had dealt with skinheads, and my friends always told me skinheads with white laces, they were Nazis, but I'd never dealt with a white nationalist before. He had a graying mullet, khakis, and just a button-down shirt. I would have never known. What happens after I can't talk about on Zoom, but as I went home, I showed my friends and they felt, well, this isn't really a racist or nationalist publication because they hate everybody. Well, they hate everybody except those who, they hate everybody, but they don't seem to target anybody who's white. They want everybody who's not white to be put on like a leper island. It's a strange time. It's 1990 and there's no internet yet, at least to what it is now, where people can circulate this information. And when I go to the phone booth, there are little stickers with a phone number that you can call to join the something like the New Nationalist Party for Free White America. And I call it and it's recorded messages talking about everything that's wrong with America. And this is how information is getting circulated around. A friend of mine gives me a cassette tape of this band that I really like. And for about a year and a half after, I keep listening to them and I make mixtapes for other people. And I find out that they've come in town from the UK. And that's when somebody tells me that they have a Nazi following. I said, but I don't hear it in the music. And I've given the tapes out. My friends say, well, that's only in the UK. And that's maybe in New York, but not in Boston, not in Cambridge. This will never happen. And a friend of mine, so I go, and I actually go early. I go in the day and I go to the club and I ask them. And I meet the headliner. This guy, his name was Boyd Rice. Didn't know anything about him. And then I found out that he was pen pals with Charles Manson. Yeah, I really know how to pick a concert. When I go in that night, I'm freaked out because it's a goth club, but there are hardly any goths there. Everybody is in pink and blue turquoise kind of Izod or polo t-shirts. And I'm like, what's going on here? This is my goth club. And this just seems really out of place. There's a man with a suit who looks like he could be their father who's staring at me. And then I see the one guy who looks like a skinhead with a swastika on the side of his jacket, and he's holding a cane with a brass handle. And I know that kind of cane, you can take it off and put a dagger in it. And I go to the whatever security they have, and I say, check the cane. They did. They said, it is that kind of cane. I said, did you check his boot for the blade? They said, we didn't. I then see a skin check hold her arm up and give a Nazi salute. But then an Asian drag queen kisses that skin check on the cheek. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? I'm freaking out. I start trying to talk to my friends, but my friends look at me and they look at all these skinheads, because there are about 50 of them here, Nazis, and they don't know me anymore. They distance themselves from me. I don't know what to do, but I don't want to leave. I go in the other room, and my friends that are Jewish, they're standing in the back room refusing to go in, and they're pissed off. My female friends want to go in there and fight. I decide that I'm not going to leave because this is my town, and I walk right up to the stage and I start listening, and I understand now. Afterwards, they're now walking around with their beer bottles held like clubs, staring at me, just kind of circling around. And I don't have anybody there. The one person who backs me up is the one person I don't consider my friend, and he's egging them on. He's like, you're like Big Mike Tyson. You're like Muhammad Ali. You can beat these white boys up with one hand behind your back. He's like, come on, come on. This is my boy here. And I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. If there's one person I want to kill here, it's him. I distance myself from him. And then this guy comes on by the name of Boyd Rice. And I don't think I've ever seen evil the way that I could have seen evil that night, because he had no equipment at all. He literally just spit into the microphone and looped it as a drum beat and started talking about hate. And all of a sudden it was like sharks smelling blood, and this mosh pit just started. And I refused. I stayed right next to the guy with the swastika, and we just kept elbowing each other the whole time. I think I'm gonna get killed. And I looked Boyd right in the eyes, and he ended that show after his first song because he knew that if he continued, I probably would get killed. I was freaked out, and I went home the lighted path. And I thought to myself, if any of these people were walking down the street, I'd never know. They always used to say that the skinheads had the white laces, the communists had the red laces, but Izod shirts, polo shirts, plain clothes, 1990. When I look now at everything that's happening, when they talk about how people are blending in, I saw it happening then. I saw the information being circulated on the phone booths, the zines being passed out. And I tried to tell people, but I didn't have the support or people who would listen. And I don't think anybody thought that it was that important. But now with the internet, all those communities get together, and there's things like 4chan, and there's Discord. And when I tell people this story in the past, I used to talk about how brave I was to just walk right up to the front of the stage and refuse to leave. And when I look at the state of things now, I don't think I did much of anything. That's it. I also should say that that bookstore was the first bookstore I ever bought a piece of African-American literature before the new owner took over. Speeches of Malcolm X.
Mm. Where do you live, Ben?
I live in Boston. So this
Okay.
happened in Alston back in the 90s.
Alston, is that near Boston?
Yeah, so when this actually happened, I lived in Brookline, and then Alston Brighton was literally just a walk up the road, and there was this underground bookstore owned by this really nice married couple who moved out to Chicago, and they sold the place to this guy who in our last conversation told me he was from Silicon Valley. He worked in computers and he was going back there, and I got warning that everyone said he was bad news, but nobody told me what he was bad news about. The place was a really great place before he came there because they'd have coffee houses and poetry readings and movie nights. And it was basically an apartment building where everybody took an apartment and turned it into their own independent business. But yeah, I live in Boston, in the Boston area.
I don't think we've met, but I think maybe if you do stories up there, maybe we know some of the same people. There's a couple of Boston here.
Congratulations on your moth a couple of months ago.
Oh, was it you me?
Yeah.
In Boston?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that was more than a couple months ago. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Were you
maybe.
there?
Yeah, I was in the crowd.
Oh, did you? All right. Were you a judge?
No, I was not a judge.
I would have thanked you. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that was fun. That was the kind of. Oh, Chandreyee was there too. Chandreyee was there too, right? That was
I'd love to meet you. You're an amazing storyteller.
Yeah. I'm glad. Did you tell a story that night? I don't think you did.
No, were you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just kind of checking out that whole area. And actually that's walking distance from that bookstore where that happened.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, man, so you don't tell stories to the world on stages?
Oh yeah, I do. I just have been checking out the moth. I mean, I've done, I don't know. I did stuff on GBH. We won the Webbies.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
You want stories from the stage? That's what Sean was here for.
That's the other reason I went up there that same weekend.
Okay. Which I work with Cheryl sometimes. Which, what theme did you?
Fish Out of Water originally. They might have rethemed it because that was in the fall and it actually just aired.
Okay.
Last week.
All right. Yeah. I just finished with Cheryl at Bunker Hill Community College. I guess it was last month. Time flies.
Yeah. Awesome, man. That was a really interesting, compelling story. So thanks for.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Stick around if you can.
Yeah.
Hey, Jenice. I'm gonna put you at the end, okay? So we got two more storytellers and then you. Cool. All right. Thanks, Mr. Ben in Boston area. Now we go south to would you call it a great state? I used to say the great state of, but I'm thinking, is it a great state, Linda? What do you think? Should we call West Virginia a great state or just a good state?
We call it wild and wonderful, almost heaven.
Okay. Do I have to call it that or do you call it that?
No, that is what they do call it.
Okay.
It is.
Joining us from the wild and wonderful state of West Virginia, Linda, stage is yours.
Hey. Everybody hear me okay? Okay. Boom, 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 boom. My neighbors had invited me over for July the 4th fireworks. Here in wild and wonderful West Virginia, our fireworks are tremendous. It seems like there aren't any laws concerning how much noise you make, how bright, what time of the night, who you disturb. If you set somebody's trees on fire or the roof on their garage, it doesn't matter as long as everybody's having a good time. So I'm sitting there on their porch and everything is just spectacularly beautiful. My neighbors are elderly, and I really don't know how long they're going to be around, but their daughter was there. She's in her 40s with her 4 children. All 4 of her children are gifted. I don't mean just like kind of smart. I mean, the 3-year-old can read the encyclopedia, count to 600 forwards and backwards, knows every shape, knows all these scientific mathematical formulas. It's truly amazing to be around those children. And I'm thinking, okay, so here I am, just this blonde hick woman, and I'm over here and having a good time, but I felt a little out of place. Then I remembered, oh yeah, everybody sizes me up. They look at me and go, oh, she's just a bubble-headed blonde idiot. And I'm really not. I'm kind of smart. So I thought, okay, I'm around all these smart people. I'm just going to throw out some stuff that maybe will impress them. Let's see how all this lands. You've got to find your audience. When you're a storyteller, you try out people and you try out different ages and audiences. And okay, they're all the lights, the sounds, the noise, the sizzles. They're ooh, ah, ah. Do you suppose that that beam of light traveling is available to be seen in a parallel universe? They kind of look at me funny, and I'm like, oh, good, it's landing, they're paying attention to me. There is this theory that a light actually exists in 2 places at the same time. It's neither a wave nor a particle. It is light. And what one light does, its sister in the other universe does the same thing. They match up. I'm really impressed in them, I could tell. Only thing is, I forgot the daughter is a psychiatrist. She kind of looked at me, rolled her eyes, but she was getting into it. So we started a discussion about how people have visions and ideas, and then she shared. She had just run into a new psychiatric theory that supported this very thought. And so she was encouraging me to go on with my wild ideas and visions. And I thought, hell, no wonder her kids are so smart. They've been allowed to explore and think and be different. From the moment of conception, it didn't really matter what they thought or what kind of crazy ideas came out of their head. She believed them and she encouraged it. I went, this lady, I want her for my friend. So the next day, she sent her little boy over with a real special little bag. And he said, my mama wants you to have this. She thinks that you might put it to good use. I opened it up. It was Edgar Casey's oracle cards. I started flipping through them and I'm like, wow, she's encouraging me at this age to jump in, express myself, be who I really am, and go for it. What an awesome human she is. We need more people like her. We need more mothers like her. And then I went over and I turned on my YouTube videos and I'm scanning. Lo and behold, a video came up. Just this last week, scientists have untangled a mystery of quantum physics. They have actually created an atom in this one lab, 20 miles away in another lab. They talk to each other faster than sound. Like, I really am onto something. I'm not crazy. I am smart. Boom.
Awesome. Thank you, Linda. Linda, there's flashing. Was that part of it all? The flashing lights? Is that like strategically?
No, it just, when I started telling my story, all of a sudden all these flashes started going off on my computer. I don't know, but I just think it
Quantum entanglement.
corroborates my story. Yeah, that's what
Come
it is.
Well, let's not act. Yeah.
Yes.
Linda, it's quantum entanglement, and that atom, the Linda in another place, is
Right.
saying, "Woo."
Let's not
You
act.
saw it. Yes. Yeah.
We're not gonna pretend that that was a coincidence. Okay, let's just keep it real here. It wasn't a coincidence, folks. All right, I'm just telling you right now.
She's just a cool woman though. She's gonna be my friend.
Cool. Thank you for that story down in the wild, wonderful state of West WW, the alliteration, wild, wonderful West Virginia. I added a fourth W. It's not there. I just did it. It's a gift. Thank you, Linda. Good seeing you. It's been a while. Next up, we have Chandreyee in Massachusetts, then Jenice, who I think still resides in the Garden State of New Jersey, but you're not up yet. We're going to Chandreyee, who originally wasn't going to tell a story, and then she was inspired maybe by some of you all to tell the story. So she's unmuted. I'm going to spotlight her, and then we're going to hear her story. Break a leg.
Thank you, everyone. I haven't practiced this or anything, but like Sean said, I was inspired. So this is the first time, bear with me. I'll try and keep it short. But so I've been doing storytelling in my spare time, but I've also co-produced a few shows, and the main show that I've co-produced is called Voices. It's on South Asian immigrant experiences. I live in the Boston area. And the reason I've been driven to produce that one is because it brings stories that you haven't heard from South Asian immigrants like myself to people. And I live in the city called Waltham. It's a large city. It's very diverse. It's multicultural. And there are rifts in it, like there are in any city, right? Which has a plurality of ideologies and people and ethnicities. So it struck me that one of the best things I could do for my city, which I love, that I'm involved in, is to maybe create a platform where we can get an idea of who the people in the city are. So long story short, ever since the 2016 election, when chasms started opening up in the society, especially in my city that I love so much, that's when I started incubating this idea. What if I had a show called We Are Waltham, where I brought storytellers of every single walk of life, and now, we'd slowly start to see that even though we're different, we're all the same, blah, blah, blah. How many years has it been? 2016? Feels like forever, but last Friday or 2 Fridays ago, I finally had my first big ass show. It was at this historic mill in downtown Waltham on the Charles River. Sean, I don't know if I took you there when you came, but it's a beautiful historic place. And it's actually the first factory in North America. It's the first place where textile manufacturing happened. So there's a little part of it that's a beautiful museum. The acoustics are great. They do a lot of programming and concerts. And I teamed up with the director, wrote a grant, and here was my big day. My big show is happening. Deep breaths, because, in all this time, it had taken on such big proportions. There was this thing I was trying to do. I was girding my loins, getting ready to get flamed because, I'd be accused of not getting the right kind of person on, or getting the wrong kind of person on. And I'm going to be having this show every 3 months for however as long as I have energy to do it. But it was a difficult day. I was psyched because I had these fantastic 6 tellers with some were raw, some were polished. They were amazing. And so I got up there. I thought this through really carefully. So some of the stories that I thought were difficult had trigger warnings. I was going to have an open mic because on the other show that I'd co-produced, I always had an open mic at the end. And I told people, to put their name in the hat and I'd pull. So I announced that at the beginning, at the intermission. And I kept repeating, these are positive stories. We're doing community building. No place for hate. Try and keep them positive if you can. And no fiction. I know it says open mic, but that doesn't mean poetry, essays, fiction. It's true stories from real life. All this happens. The show ends. I actually had a hat, not a Peruvian one like Sean does for 99 seconds, but my husband lent me his hat. So I had that at the podium. 2 people had put their names in the hat. One of them is a storytelling friend in the greater Boston area. You guys, some of you might know him, Ajay Galiwale. He's really funny. But, and then the other guy is this guy called Eric, whom I had met in the downtown cafe when I was meeting with one of the tellers to coach them. And he'd come by to talk to us and said, oh, is storytelling, is there going to be an open mic? And 10 seconds, and I could tell something was not right about this gentleman. Mentally disturbed, maybe mentally challenged. And I said, yeah, sure, but you've got to live or work in the city. And he said, I work here. Can I have your number? And I was like, no, but you can look up my show and there's an email. So I knew this gentleman. When I saw his name and I saw him in the audience, I knew him. So I said, okay, let me pull his name out of the hat. And then Ajay, who I know is a solid storyteller, I'll have him bring in the rear so that this is a wild card, not how it's going to go, but I know we're going to end on a good note. And it was, the reason I gave you the background is because there was a lot on the line for me. This was my first big show. All of, the mayor was there, all these important people from Waltham were there. And this guy comes up to the podium and he's visibly disturbed. Obviously, if there was a picture of being in a mental health crisis, that was it. We were looking at it. And he's fidgeting and he's not looking anyone in the eye. And he's saying, okay, I've got to find my place. And he's scrolling frantically through his phone, going up and down, up and down. I've got to find the right place. And then he goes, okay, I found it. So everyone, thank you so much for this. He says, I was going to read some poetry, but then I heard her say that, oh, it's not for poetry and essays. So I'm going to read from fiction, a short story that's unpublished. Now I'm sitting in the front row, right, so that I'm right up there, and I get up and I don't have a mic. And I'm like, do you have any nonfiction today? Because we're really not doing fiction. And he's like, no. And he gets even more agitated. And this is somebody who is just so obviously not well. And so in 5 seconds, it's like time slows down for me. What am I supposed to do? And I'm thinking, this is a community show. I have just said 50 times over that this is to build community. How am I supposed to yank the mic off of someone and someone who's obviously disturbed? Is that the person I want to say, no, you don't get to be heard? Who am I to say that? And so I do all these quick mental calculations and I say, okay. And he goes, don't worry, it's got to do with storytelling. So I'm like, okay. You've got 2 minutes. Everybody else, I'd said you have 6 minutes. So I sit down and I'm not sure I can repeat what he went on to say because it was so disturbing. I didn't sleep that night. It was just horrible. It was a piece of fiction that was almost the part that he read. And he did apologize. He said, oh, this is a little macabre. I wasn't going to read this part, but I guess we're here, so I'm going to read it. The main character was called Clyde or Clive or someone, and the other character was the voice, and he kept reading their parts. And long story short, Clyde had been possessed by the voice and was having these strong thoughts. And again, I apologize to everybody. There is a trigger warning here. It's very graphic. It's very violent. It's very disturbing. And I won't go into details, but in the part that he read, he picks up a knife and he slits the throat of his son. And he describes blood and bleeding, and he describes his son falling dead. Then he describes the thrill coursing through his veins. The voice is telling him to do all this stuff. Then his wife comes at him with shock in his eyes, and he kills his wife, very graphically described. And at this point, cut to my show, 2 people behind me, one person behind me is tugging on my shirt saying, Chandreyee, shut this down. No, no. The person sitting next to me, who was a teller, one of my tellers who's already gone, is saying, no, no, stop. And at one point she gets up and she runs out of the room. And I find out later on, she has a history. She has been she was triggered. She actually has bona fide history for something like this. And so what I just told you in 10 seconds, it took about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. And when it got to that ultimate part where even I felt like I was going to throw up, and all this time I'm doing this mental math, like, when do I pull the plug on this? This is a community show, but more importantly, we all know about the mental health crisis. So many of us have fought it ourselves. We see it playing out in the front lines, which to me, as a mother of a teenager, it's in our schools. We have middle schoolers who are committing suicide. We have anxiety, we have depression. It was so difficult. My first responsibility was to my audience, to this show that I've been incubating for so long, for who the sole purpose of it is to build community. And here's this person talking about obscenity, about everything that goes against the laws of nature, but he's mentally disturbed. And it seemed like here was a chance for me to give him a microphone, however horrible his thoughts were. You know, the woman next to me who was triggered left. Other people had the right to do that. But around the 2-minute mark, it wasn't right anymore. And so I stood up and I said, I'm so sorry. I think we're done. Thank you so much for sharing. He got even more agitated. He took the mic off and he said, well, okay, let me just end on some poetry. And he tried to say a few lines of poetry. He got stuck. It was just so difficult to watch. And after stumbling on a few lines, he said, I guess I'm just going to quit now. I'm so sorry. And he dropped, I think he might have dropped the mic and he ran off stage. And then I was just like in shock. I didn't know what to do. But I stepped up. My friend Ajay was waiting in the wings to step up. I thanked this gentleman profusely. I said, look, it takes a lot of courage to get up here and take the mic. I refrain from any criticism, any kind of bad language. And so Ajay came up, he did his thing. It was a hilarious piece. He had the audience in splits just rolling in the aisles. The show ended. The disturbed gentleman talked to me. He was initially apologetic, and of course he turned on me and he was really upset about me. Later on, I found out that he was the last to leave the premises. Everyone, the organizers, was super concerned because he was visibly so not okay. And to this day, I wonder if I did the right thing. I have a couple of friends have told me I should have called the police, but the mayor wasn't sitting in the back of the room. And I'm still not sure what the right thing to do was as a producer, as a human being, as someone who was very aware of the mental health tsunami, the tsunami of mental illness we have. I don't know, but I like to think that by providing him a mic and 2 minutes to say whatever obscenity was on his mind, I like to think that I didn't censor his reality. I don't know if these are thoughts that he had. I don't know if this is something he has done or this is something he's planning. Maybe he needs to write fiction about it so that he doesn't actually do it. I mean, do we judge Stephen King when he writes his monstrosities? No, we make him a millionaire. So I don't know what I did. And I don't know if I did the right thing. And I'm never going to forget this person again. And the upshot of it is when I have my next show in September, there ain't going to be no open mic. My heart cannot take this anymore. But yeah, I just thought I'd share that about, like, as a producer, it's kind of breaking the fourth wall and talking about storytelling. And those of you who produce shows, I would love to have a producer's talk to say, geez, how do you handle this? Thank you for listening to me.
Everybody's going to want to, don't do it now, after, don't do it yet. Everyone's, oh, you should have done this. You did the right thing. You did the wrong thing. Hang on, just for the sake of flow. It's a tough spot for sure.
Right?
That's a tough spot for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Tough spot. Tough spot. Yeah. You're not somebody, I always assume that when somebody joins a show like this and they tell a story, or even whatever it may be, like, they're not looking for like validation, that, if that's the right word, even though they might be. I'm not the guy to give that. And I'm always assuming, oh, this isn't the right space. People aren't coming on here to say, you did the right thing. Like, they don't, but maybe some people are here for that. Not you necessarily. I just wonder, because I'm so adamant to a fault of, like, the greatest service, the greatest gift we can give is to listen and listen well. That, yeah, but I think other people maybe would look at that as a little coarse or harsh. Like, it's okay, Sean, to say, hey, you did the right thing once in a while. So I'm just talking aloud, because I'm a little bit like, I want to tell her what I think, but I don't.
No, you should, because I'm not sure I did the right thing. I just don't know how I'm supposed to know what the right thing to do is.
Yeah.
All I know is I know about mental health crises. I know I've
Yeah.
been, you know, Sean, I've told so many stories. I've been on
Yeah.
suicide noted. I've been there a little bit. I'm so lucky. I'm so fortunate in life. I haven't had to bear whatever cross he's bearing, right? The burdens that he's bearing. I'm positive. I'm the very lucky person. I've had a good life in spite of my struggles. But I think in this day and age where we all acknowledge that there's mental health is a problem, just too many of us don't know how to listen.
Correct.
Without offering prescriptions and recommendations. And this is where I felt tested to my utmost. It's one thing, like this is such a fantastic forum, right? I've come to this mental health show before where we're all there, we're listening, we're not judging. This
Right.
is fantastic. But what would you guys do if I now pulled out some obscenity like that?
Right.
It would be so freaking hard. But maybe as a community, if we gave people space, and I got a feeling that that's why that guy needed to. Why else would you step up to the mic and read something like that if you didn't just need to be heard? If you didn't need, and it's a monstrosity. No one's publishing that, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would never be able to say what I think it's a conversation. It's not a right, wrong, this, that, should or
Yeah.
should not.
Yeah.
It's like, what did you want to get out of it? You know? It's nothing. These things are rarely so. From my point of view, obviously, so this or that. So because if it were that clear, you'd have figured it out. You'd have done it.
Yeah,
It's
no,
obviously tricky, like because
yeah, and my
it's
solution
truly a conflict. Yeah.
You know, in future, I can say that, oh, I need to vet your story in the halftime, but I just said I'm not going to go there because
Yeah.
this was too hard. This was trial by fire.
Right.
I've done other open mics before. I've hosted other open mics before. I've never
Awesome.
had this, but I just thought it was a good story for this group because it goes to
Yeah.
show that, you know, when the pedal hits the metal, this is good Lord. And I hope he's okay. He comes by that coffee shop often, apparently. I'm going to look out for him.
Yeah. Have you seen him since?
No, I don't want to because I know he's really mad at me.
The only other question I have, and then we'll Jenice will come on. And then we can hang out and talk about that stuff if you want. I don't know how much time people have. If you could go back to that moment, would you have gotten him off the stage or would you let him do it? What would you have done?
I'd have done the same thing. I've been asking myself, and I know I did a bad service to my audience, but I'm telling you, about 10 people came up to me later on and said, I was initially really pissed at you for letting that go on. But then after he left, when I went up to the mic, I addressed everyone and I said, can we all please applaud because we may not have liked what we heard, but it takes a lot of courage to stand up here and speak. And this is a community forum and I didn't feel like it was in my right to censor anyone. And people actually applauded.
Right.
10 of the audience members said that, oh, I'm not sleeping tonight. That was horrible. But I do appreciate what you did as a producer and as somebody I hurt. But I like that you upheld that guy as a community member, no matter how awful it is.
Right. I mean,
and I felt good about that.
Yeah, you could almost argue that.
But 10 other people may have been triggered so badly that they've had, you know, I'll never know. And I don't want to know. I did what was right, but I'm telling you, no more open mics because
Yeah.
This is risky.
No, sure.
You could trigger someone and really cause.
I mean, you could also trigger someone by sneezing, though. So, I mean, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, but this was out there, no?
Yeah, not for me, but I understand for most. I wouldn't get, just for me, maybe I'm weird. I'm not having nightmares over that. Like,
because
it was a little graphic. The guy has an imagination. Maybe he's killed people. For me, it's like, okay, but I could see why it would be a big lose sleep over that. Literally? You guys literally didn't sleep the whole night?
Dude, Sean, I didn't tell you the details he told me. He described the sound of the blood hitting the floor. He's talking about a child, his son. Yeah. It was so graphic.
It was fiction.
I would share with you guys. It got edited out of the video. I wasn't going to have that on my YouTube channel.
But he was just fictionalizing, no?
Supposedly, yeah. And maybe he was. And like I said, we don't censor Stephen King when he writes stuff like this, right? We line his pockets. But it's not what I wanted at a community show.
But you could argue that you could argue, and you may have thought of this, you probably have, you know, that there are these moments where you take a stand that tell you about your character more than anything else, that you could have the greatest stories in the nicest space and it went perfectly. That's community, like it's a gift. And then there are moments like that where are unplanned and you're cringing, and that's where your character is kind of really tested, I think. This is Sean's little podium moment. And I think that's the moment.
I hope
That's
so.
the moment you're tested, and you may never have gotten tested, but whatever. You've been tested in your life. You're a mom. You've been tested.
So
but,
these 5 hair that used to be black are now gray from
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
How many?
Thank you so much, everyone. I don't want to take up any more.
How many hairs are there? 5? Oh, okay. Thanks, Chandreyee. Okay, that was really interesting. I hope that I was a little imbalanced in talking with Chandreyee and more than some of the other tellers. I apologize. Now, if Jenice has a good sense of humor right now, she's going to get on and do something like way out there with blood and a knife and the irony and the meta, but she's not. She's going to keep it real, though. So that might include some things that could potentially trigger someone. And in that case, mute or walk away. It's not the intention, but it could happen. I should have said that earlier. I don't ever give trigger warnings, but it's a good reminder. Like, yeah, it might trigger you.
That's a good point.
We still got to tell the stories. We try to do them artfully, and it may not be for everybody. And if it's not, stories are going to be told, and that's the beauty of mute. In Chandreyee's case, you can get up and leave. It's not ideal, but you have that option, right? Right. So
Right.
not you, Chandreyee, meaning your show and the other people. I'm glad they left, though. I mean, as opposed to sitting there and being super uncomfortable or even triggered. So, all right, Jenice, you have waited long enough. I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to spotlight you, and you are our final storyteller this evening.
Make it real quick. I have been dealing with mental illness all my life. And for the last few years, I have decided that I need to deal with my demons. Those pains or those wounds that I have not closed yet. And I started to do a self-love journey with myself and learning how I love myself. Do I give myself gifts? Do I give myself words of affirmation? Do I give myself unconditional love? This weekend, I decided to visit my children, and my daughter, she's what we call a functional alcoholic. Very intelligent, the love of my life. She knows, I know she's an alcoholic. In one of her moment of blackout, she revealed her childhood pain. And it was so interesting to be looked at as that mother that did that to her, or gave that had allowed that experience to her. But yet I was seeing myself, how I was living with pain and hurt that had nothing to do with what I'm doing now. And I realized my daughter didn't see that point. That yet I am still the conflict or her excuse to be an alcoholic. She said some very mean things to me that I felt was hurtful and true, but yet in my own process of letting go, because I learned that in order for me to go on with my life, I had to let go of those trauma that was holding me back. As my friend said, if you're so busy living in the past, in actuality, you're just dying or you're dead. The next day, I was pissed. But that night, I was over her house with her wife. That's another story. And I went down to my secluded place in her house. And as I sat there just fuming with this anger of my own self, of what I did, but at the same time, why she can't get over it like I did. I saw a light just flash in front of me like a dance, like this. I admit I was a little bit in the good mood, so I looked at the light as though it was just a side effect of my delightful drinks I had had. The next day, I left to go back home, and I remember how cold I was towards her. And before I left, she said, "I'm gonna hurt you like you hurt me." Ooh. Ooh. What is this hurt? You know, what is this hurt? I can't speak for my daughter, but I understand. Because on my way back, we get a phone call that her wife's baby sister had committed suicide. And my car, as I was driving back, stopped before I could leave Baltimore. It was just those things coming together. And as I went back, took care of my car because it's something blah, 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 decided to go back. And when I went back, I had the opportunity to sit down with my daughter, and because there was no time to really have pettiness or untold emotions between us, because now someone is going to have to be buried, a loved one. And for the first time, I talked to my daughter, and it felt like I was talking to myself. I realized when it comes to dealing with your demons, it is only your personal journey. For me, it took this time. I'm a grandmother. I'm a storyteller. I'm a Latin dancer. I'm an actress, you know. I am letting, at this time, giving my inner child who was so hurt the opportunity to make her dreams come true. I think all of us need to have a good talk with our inner child. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenice. Jenice in Jersey. J&J. My inner child wants a drink. Is that bad? He's underaged. He shouldn't be drinking, Jenice. I'll be honest with you, man. Wow. Where you been?
Who, me?
You been around doing stuff?
Oh my God. I have a piece that came out on Risk.
Oh, great.
Called Rose in Spanish Hollow. It's on their podcast now, and it's about my mother, who worked with the mafia as their abortionist from 1958 to 1973.
Wow.
Yeah. And I tell the story through my childhood, from the time I'm 7 to the time I'm 15. And I tell my story through those different perspectives. So the story really helped me to understand the plight that my mother was doing, because technically during that time, she would have been sent to the electric chair for giving women a right, a choice.
So we can do that on the Risk podcast.
To the Risk podcast.
You like that? You have a good relationship with them, right? You've done some stuff with them.
Oh, and I got some work. If you thinking we did Colander. You remember?
What did we do?
Did we do Colander? I did with I have a story there. Yeah, and that's a story on science. But then thank you so much for putting me on your podcast.
Well, sure.
Thank you. That was the
Well, you know, it's hard, Jenice, because when you get to be as big as we are, and we're not little puny moths and risks, when you get to be as big as we are, we have to be very selective. So
oh my God. Oh, well, thank you.
We're blowing up.
You will, because this is something unique.
Yeah, well, now that's
Just
depends on the goal, but yeah, they're all good. They're a great pocket. Thank you again.
I just want to share that
Sure.
I deal with what you did, young lady. I deal one-to-one with kids who on the transition of going through mental illness and having to deal with the family and seeing that and how society and the law and the mental health, all of that comes together more in a clash than a harmony network, and it can be really, really crazy. The system is crazy. There's not enough doctors or
Yeah, for
psychiatrists.
sure. Oh, yeah.
There's not enough. There's not.
There's not, correct, right.
Yeah, and then they do have like the mental health centers that are overbooked. So if you want to get an appointment, unless you have private insurance, which most people don't have,
Correct.
then you can go where you want to, but it is very hard to get mental help. I had to depend for the mental health services in different, in my community, they have a mental health center and they have group talks, things like, I had to find that myself.
Yeah.
And refer that to other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But actually getting the help that you need. But we don't know. I think that we don't know. Again, it's just you put like a little quotation. As a teacher, when I deal with my students, I always have to be aware of those that are going to have issues. And my concern is not to judge them, but to address the behavior that might be a problem.
Sure.
And I'm very proud about that I've been able to network and get help, but it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, you know what's not hard, Jenice? If you wanted a loan, you go anywhere.
A credit card.
You know it'd be easy. You want a loan? I don't know where you live. You could walk out of your house unless you're really on a farm. There's a bank or someone that will lend you money. That's easy. Anybody, anytime, loan. So I hear like it's so funny.
I went to North Carolina.
Hello.
My God, they have signs on the door that says "Do not bring explosive and guns." What?
I don't know. I don't even like it here. I don't know what I'm doing here. I should leave.
Oh, you're there? Oh my God.
You didn't know I lived in North Carolina?
Oh my God, no.
Oh, I thought you were kind of giving me a little bit of a boop boop.
No. Oh my God, I gotta talk to you, but that is fun.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not like the governor or anything, Jenice. I don't have any power, but happy to talk.
Oh my God.
Could be the governor.
Oh, well, that's another program.
Now our governor's, check this is gonna blow your minds. Ready? Our governor's a white older man.
Oh, that's another.
So, how rare is that? How rare is that?
Really? No, it's
An
not.
older white guy.
Oh my
Governor.
God.
His name is Roy Cooper. He's done a decent job. It's all contextual, I guess. Anyway, let's talk to everyone. So if you want to say hi and you didn't tell a story, you can certainly do that. No pressure, but thank you for joining to listen and to the storytellers. I'm going to officially stop recording. I could have done that a while ago. I just forget sometimes. So that's